So I call it personal development coaching within business. Like I did my first Insights Discovery Profile 2001. I'm like, this is different. Of course, that's why I like to build the coaching and ongoing.
Yeah.
It's not just you read the profile and you forget about it. You actually come back where you maybe think of some questions in 3 months that you didn't think of to begin with. And then I've got my home office / spare bedroom covered in colourful bits of paper for a couple of days.
Booklets everywhere for everyone.
Well, it's only happened once of an individual going, that's not me. That's all. It's all wrong. It's not me. And I'm like, oh God, that's never happened before.
How we doing, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Seasonal Discussions. My name's Chris. I will be your host throughout this journey, as always. Reminder, if you are new to the content, a cheeky like or a click or a follow or a subscribe, however you're listening, wherever you're watching, it's free to do so, and we appreciate it because not only does it support us, but it also supports the wonderful individuals that we have coming on, like today's guest, Steve. Steve, how are you? First off.
Pretty good, thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
All good. Monday morning, drive up 15D, so otherwise I'm totally fine, yeah.
Yeah, it's we'll apologise in advance if we start turning blue slightly through this. It's cold in this office this morning. We've got the big lights on, so I'm hoping that'll warm us up, but God, yeah, we're just acclimatising ourselves to finally moving out of this office, which means we're going to get warm again in a while. Did you have the heating on in the car on the way up?
Very much so, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be looking forward to your little flat move, yeah.
Especially considering the new one's got a radiator in it as well, which is quite nice. So before we get into this lovely little booklet I have in my hand, which has caused some, not discussion or negative in any way, but certainly some personal journey and travel, tell us a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you actually do, Steve.
Thanks, Chris. Well, as you said, my name's Steve Thomson. My company is SYT Coaching Development. And what I've done for 20 odd years is a blend of Insights Discovery, which is the profile we're going to be looking at, and personal development coaching. So it's kind of using those two things. I had a previous role in business and gradually realised that I was working with the people that was the bit I liked most. So I've been doing that ever since.
See, that's the strange thing. Normally people find that working with people is what puts you off doing a lot of things. Whereas for you, it seems to have done the opposite. That connection with people has kind of led you to discovering, I suppose, what it is that you enjoy doing.
It's like, if you're a team leader or a manager, you've got a mixture of tasks and people. You've got a team and you've got to, develop your people, get your people to do stuff, and you've got all the tasks to be done. But when you get into some of the colours, task focus is a certain colour, and I can do that, but I'm much more interested in, sort of developing other people, and they can go off and do the tasks. So that's what I got fed up with all the tasks and decided that, the people side was more interesting.
People are certainly, we are firm believers in here that people connect with people. And it's one of the reasons we wanted to get you on to talk to you, because obviously that connection with people is a big part of what you do. It's not necessarily about connecting with the business. So if a business was to get you to come in, you don't really care as much about connecting with the business itself. It's about connecting with those individuals you're working with, I suppose.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, you could talk about definitions for ages, but some people talk about business coaching, which is working on the business. I'm interested in your profit and your loss, and I'm going to improve your finance. I wouldn't have a clue how to do that. I'm sort of, people coaching. So I call it personal development coaching within business. So you're still, working with the companies, but if you get them feeling better about themselves and able to do more, then the business benefits, but you haven't had to worry about all the numbers.
Yeah.
So that's what I like doing, basically.
So for SYT as a whole, how long has SYT actually been in operation for?
Well, I say 20. It's 21, nearly 22 years. So longer than, as I used to say, it's longer than my real job, which I had for about 16 years.
What line of work were you before you moved into this side of things? Was it still the coaching side? Or?
No, nothing like that at all. I mean, I did chemical engineering originally, and I worked in a pharmaceutical company. I was a production manager, so what I was talking about, tasking people, very much this, we have to get this done, and lots of deadlines. So I did that, various companies and stuff for 15, 16 years. Yeah. So, but it was more that if you're working for a bigger company, then you do get put on courses and you get receiving coaching, and that's, so I was lucky to find out what, and I was like I did my first Insights Discovery Profile 2001. And I'm like, this is different. And so it was lucky that sort of directed me in a different direction, I suppose.
Is there some elements of what you used to do that you still take over, like you feel like you kind of adapted the way you used to approach
Good question.
a normal job into this now?
Oh, totally. I mean, you think if I go into, I mean, no disrespect to other coaches, but they can have all sorts of backgrounds. So if I go and I'm working in a bigger company with teams or manufacturing or anything to do with oil and gas, I'm like, oh yeah, I've delivered projects. So although it's not about you being the expert, you know what they're talking about. Oh, I've got a lot of appraisals coming up. Oh yeah, I remember when I used to do a lot of appraisals. So definitely having been in an environment like that, I think that can help. You might go off into some personal detailed stuff that I've learned since, but also having that kind of understanding of the big business, I think I find that super helpful as well.
Definitely giving you a bit more of a. And I suppose, especially if you're dealing with bigger businesses, bigger brands, you've come in, you've done insights for, obviously, myself and Zara here. We're a small 2-person team, which is, as you said at the time, I think quite a unique thing having to do it with only 2 people. But then when you're dealing with bigger groups, you'll be used to that from working in bigger groups, I suppose, yourself.
Well, I mean, I sometimes get, because I like to combine insights and coaching. So insights is a you can do insights in a team, and then some people, that's all they do. And the advantage of coupling that with coaching is it's an ongoing, okay, so how did you use your profile last week? You had a difficult conversation. What colours were you using? What colours were they using? So when I'm talking like that, it's really the coaching, the ongoing process where the business benefit helps. Oh, you've got a problem with the team. I had a problem with the team.
Yeah.
When you're just doing the insights discovery on the day, it doesn't matter, really. It's like, so for example, you guys, I'm not thinking about all my background. I'm just thinking about the actual process. But yeah, it really helps for the ongoing coaching.
What's the biggest sort of group you've had to work with that you've done these kind of coaching sessions for? Obviously, you've said it's everything from, smaller teams to bigger teams. What's the biggest group you've been able to manage so far?
But there's 2 sides to that, really. Is it okay to mention company names?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, so we'll build them afterwards. It's fine.
I worked with RGU quite a lot, so they've got a program where they had for many years sort of about 30 to 50 PhD students who are starting their PhD course, and they would have a whole week of introductory how to write a thesis and all that sort of stuff. And I would always start. So it would be me doing it was called Getting to Know Yourself and Others. And it was just, I mean, people very, all sorts of countries didn't know each other and stuff like that. So that would be, maybe 50 in a room, some of them quite noisy. Yeah. And then, of course, it became hybrid in the last few years. Some of them are online and some of them are in the room thing. So in terms of on the day, probably 50 is the most. They're doing it without profiles, so it's obviously not so good. But you can't, it would take like a whole day if you have 50 people with profiles. But we've done, maybe 120 in chunks, like 20, so in terms of an overall number of people covered by a company, it could be more than that, but you wouldn't have them all there in the one day. Yeah,
I was going to say, that'd be an interesting group to try and get through. Could you think you could get through 120 people in a day?
Only the basic introduction. Yeah. Like, obviously, even just you guys asking questions. If you've got 50 people asking questions, it gets too much.
Which is what I was thinking, because obviously we were just a 2, and it was still a good sort of hour and a half, nearly 2 hours that we were going through this thing in total. It's an in-depth thing, which again we'll get into shortly, what the actual sort of personal profile covers, what the process entails. But do you find that you get enough time to go into that kind of detail when you're dealing with larger groups as well?
Well, I don't tend to deal with large groups that often. Hopefully people will ask, and I'll say, if they asked me, I would say 12 is a good number. Okay. You can split into groups and share profiles once you understand them, so you're looking at each other. So if a company had 24 or 48, I would try and divide it by 12. But you can, if they say, absolutely, we've only got a day or whatever, you can do it. You just don't get so much question time, really.
Which I suppose would be a bit of an impact, not negatively, but it doesn't give people the chance to really get in depth.
Exactly. I'm always like, do it properly. If you're going to do it properly, some
these are very personal
chuck a profile
things.
at you. Absolutely. Yeah.
It's something that you would want to, I mean, I found anyway when Zara and I were reading through ours, it's something that it poses a lot of questions. I suppose that probably, again, will depend on where you fall within that colour scale. If you're a particular colour, you might not want to ask so many questions about yourself.
Possibly, but as you know, Chris, there's quite a lot of detail about yourself. So I think all colours potentially will have an interest in it. I mean, I know some people who come back maybe in a year and go, I really get it now. Yeah. And I'm like,
that makes sense.
I wondered where you'd gone with that sort of coming back. And of course, that's why I like to build the coaching and ongoing. But it's not just you read the profile and you forget about it. You actually come back where you maybe think of some questions in 3 months that you didn't think of to begin with.
So are you still in contact, like doing that coaching process with a lot of companies that you've worked with in the past? Like, how long will you normally stay in contact with a brand or a company?
Well, that's a good question. Longer, please, longer. No, I mean, a year would be if you're doing it properly. A year would be typical. So that could be 6 or 12 coaching sessions.
Okay.
I mean, after that, usually we're on to something else. I mean, there are follow-on processes that are more advanced, or they've had enough. So let's just say a year, but it's so much better than. A week later they've forgotten it, sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh no, I can tell you now, we've definitely not forgotten it. They've been sitting in our kitchen. We walk past them every day, and every so often, I don't know if you find it, but there's a lot of us who, when you're in the kitchen, you've put the oven on, you're waiting for the oven to heat up, you've put the kettle on, you're waiting for it to boil. Some of us will check our phones or scroll, you've got the news on the background. Because these sit in the kitchen, we often find ourselves going back and being like, what was it that said about me again?
I quite like that. I could recommend people leave it in your kitchen for a few months to.
It gives you that time to, instead of sitting and forcing yourself to go, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to read this. For us, we find it's something that if you go back and glance at occasionally and just little like you do with coaching, I suppose, little refresher sessions as opposed to
exactly
full on sitting and going through the whole thing anytime.
Exactly, and there's lots of behaviours in there, so it might be, I did that. Typically, I did that. I did it differently today. What was all that about?
What colour on the scale?
Under pressure or something.
So yeah, we've mentioned obviously there's colours. There's a lot of personal information. Let's get into the nitty gritty of it a little bit more. What is the start of the process of creating a personal profile, as these are tagged, for someone? Obviously, I know because I've gone through it, but give the viewers and the listeners a bit of an insight into how this kind of process gets started.
Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot of background. I mean, I'm been a licensed practitioner of insights for, as I say, 20 odd years, but I'm not an expert in all the detail that's gone behind it. I know there's been people working on it for years, word pairs, because you get asked questions and so on. But in terms of the user experience, it's like a 25 frame evaluator, which basically means 25 questions. Yeah. There's 4 choices, and I can't remember the exact number, but some ridiculous number of permutations, like 10 to the 200. So people, you can get quite unique profiles. And even if somebody comes out with very similar colours to yourself, you look at the words are kind of different. Yeah. Or you're looking at that person going, I'm nothing like that person, sort of thing. But basically, 25 minutes, fill in the evaluator. People say things like, I find it bit tricky. I was a bit uncomfortable. I guess it's trying to push you, is it 51? Is it 49? Push you that sort of way. And that's basically it, 25 minutes, and then we produce the results.
Each section has, like you say, different questions with a variety of different options for the answers. And it's not a yes or a no. It's you're answering these questions on a scale, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can give you a lot more detail.
Yeah, go for it
if you want, Chris. So there are 4 choices, and you have to say more. So it's all based on preferences, we should say. This is one of the good things about this. It's not judging. It's not saying you're good at this, you're bad at this. It's saying how would you like to approach it. So the whole thing's based on preferences. So it says what's your most favourite preference, what's your least favourite preference. So you have to choose both of those, and then for the other 2. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So you will typically find some people who will push the 4s and 5s all the time, and they might end up with a kind of high, colours high profile. And sometimes I'm going, I think they're all 5. Yeah. I want them all up, or I want them all down. Yeah. And of course that's the uncomfortable thing. Sometimes what you have to say for is least. You'd really like to put that at 4, but you can't. It has to go least. So it's basically most, least, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you do that 25 times. And out comes the complicated permutation.
I think it asks, for me anyway, I found when I went into it, it's the first couple of questions, you're like, right, okay, that's a 5, that's a 1, there's a 2, 3, 4.
Almost,
But then the further you get into it, I think even just that process itself, people will find themselves analysing their own like going, oh, hang on a minute, if I answer a 5 to this, what's that going to make me sound like?
Well, this is it. We do try and say, don't think about it too much, because obviously that part of you could come in. And I mean, I've filled it in multiple times for research because they're constantly refining it. And so you do have to do it. Honestly, of course, but I can go, well, maybe today I'm a little bit to the left and next time I'm a little bit to the right, but almost it must be playing itself off against each other, because it always seems to come out the same, no matter which way I've gone. So.
That was going to be my next question, is if you've done it a few times, do you find there's ever much variation in that final result that comes out for yourself? Because obviously, like you say, people are, on one day you could be feeling one way, on another day you could be feeling slightly different, but is it ever enough to really impact that final result a lot, I suppose?
You're getting into the trickier question, Terry. I mean, we do say you can change over time. So, but if I filled it in, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I wouldn't expect that to change much at all. But in 5 years or whatever, big life change, job change, it can change a bit. It also is good at picking out. We say that who you really are, and then who you are when you're switched on at work. So I can tell the difference between those two, and the differential between them, we call that the preference flow. So in other words, how hard are you trying to be something different at work because your job requires it or your boss requires it or something like that. That can change a little bit. So that preference flow, maybe it's like, a week's later and you've been on holiday or something. But overall, it usually takes a longer period before a significant change.
Well, it's because you've been doing it, as you mentioned, you've been doing it for 20 plus years now. It's those companies that you may have worked with 5-10 years ago who have been through this process. If they've got staff members who are still there, who went through this process initially, it could be a worthwhile thing for them to revisit again now.
Excellent idea, Chris.
Well, this is what I'm thinking, is it's, has your workforce's mentality or its own approach changed? Surely it'd be beneficial for companies to know, if we've got staff members who've been here for 10 years, has their approach to work changed? Has anything in their personal lives impacted them to the point where they now work differently?
And that does happen. People do come back in a few years. The team's changed a little bit. There's 3 new members, and some of the ones have done it before. So I do know people have done it several times in different contexts. Kind of thing.
Definitely worthwhile. Something so if you're a brand watching this who's been through this process a few years ago and you think, it was fine, it worked, cool, come back and do it again. Understanding your team is one of the biggest things that I think any business, brands, manager, as much as it's a business, 9 times out of 10 there's line manager, I suppose, that would be in between.
Absolutely.
It's worthwhile them knowing their team and understanding them.
And to be fair, there is a big recognition of that, I think, compared to 20 years ago. It was quite new. I mean, there have been older things like Myers-Briggs that's been around 40 years. Some people have done that, but now it's definitely much. I mean, if I'm networking, particularly in Dundee, where Insight's head office is, I'm much more likely to come across people who say, "Oh yeah, we love it, we've done it." It's more accepted that that's a good thing than maybe it used to be a bit more command and control. It's like, we'll tell you what to do. Don't think about it too much. It's when I was a youngster, maybe.
We've certainly, like, the workforce and working mentality has changed so much now to the understanding of individual, teams as a whole, but individuals within a team. Because you'll have leaders within a team, you'll have followers, for lack of a better word, within a team. You'll have people within a team. You'll have task-focused people within a team. It's important to understand those if you're going to get the best out of them. I
think so, and I think that is generally recognised that square pegs and square holes is a much, once we're, you like the detail, okay, well, we'll give you a little bit more of that. And you don't like, you like the people side, okay, well, I mean, obviously can't change people's jobs totally. And I always say there's no right or wrong profile. You might not be in the right job for your profile, but that's a different issue. That's how can we tweak it. But we also say you can do any job out of any profile, so that, I'm high this colour, maybe I shouldn't be doing that colour. You can do it if you want to. It's just motivation, really.
Finding the right drive. So from that initial process of someone completing those 25 questions, filling it through, what happens next? What comes next in the line, I suppose? Someone's gone online, they filled all this in. It feeds back, I would imagine, then the results of that. Does it come direct to yourself? Does it go through Insights?
It comes direct to myself. So when we send out the evaluator as kind of like my evaluator. So somebody else would send out their evaluator.
Okay.
So although it's the same questions, it'll go straight back to the person
Who's issued it.
who issued it. So it comes straight to me. And people, probably only takes 2 seconds. You hit send and I get it, sort of thing. So yeah, I won't bore you about all the details, but I've got software and units. I pay for units and so on and so forth. So I can produce the profile relatively quickly, although sometimes there's an issue with somebody who's done it for a different company. You have to move the profile.
Somebody with the same name.
Yeah, stuff like that.
Other Chris McDonald out there who's done this before.
Right. Who'd have thought it? So once you get these kind of technicalities sorted out, it's quite straightforward. And then I've got my home office / spare bedroom covered in colourful bits of paper for a couple of days.
Booklets everywhere for everyone.
Yeah, and then that's it. You just produce them. Fine, but I mean, if there's 20 people, it's proper. If I'm lucky, if it's a big company, I might try and get it printed off at their head office or stuff. Yeah, so that's it. Then you've got the 20-page profile. Whatever.
Yeah, so there's a lot of information in here. Now, again, but this is personal to me, so I'm not going to show you exactly what it says in it. This is mine. Obviously, this generates, the personal details of the individual who's done it. We'll then get the contents list of, everything that's contained within it. And then it gets to the overviews of each individual person. So does the system that you feed all this into, does it provide the overview? Like literally every bit of information that's in here, does that provide everything for you at the end?
So as I say, I don't know the details, but every word, every sentence, every kind of statement has been analysed, and there are millions of statements. So it just produces them in a sort of unique order, and out it comes. Chris likes to do whatever.
It provides literally, as it says on it, it provides a lot of insights to the individuals, and I think you'll probably experience yourself a lot of eye-opening moments for people as they read through these to go, oh, hang on a minute. Yeah, that does sound familiar to me.
Totally, yeah. And I do think it's always been good, but it's got really good now. So people are rarely not happy with a statement. Once upon a time, with 2 or 3 statements, maybe that's not quite right or something. But it's nearly always that they're. But also, depending on the experience and age, sometimes people just haven't seen that level of depth written about them. It's like it's proper deep. You really like this and you don't like that. And for some people, it's not a shock. It's just and they'll say, "Who have you been speaking to?" And I'm like, well, nobody knows yourself as well as yourself. So if you'd spoken to other people, it probably wouldn't be so good. They've got all these judgments and stuff. So
you'd be getting their preconceived notions of what that person is.
It's called self-perception. It's what you think about yourself, and therefore when you read it, usually you go, that is my self-perception. So.
It is. It's like looking at you. So you get a personal style, which is, highlights who you are and your own little quirks, I suppose, your own little approaches.
If you like,
interacting with others. So you also get decision making, key strengths and weaknesses for the individual, which is a massive thing for managers out there, understanding the strengths of your team. I know that I'm better at making coffee than Zara is. Possible.
She's not listening to
She's going to be watching this one back and throwing things at me as I come back. Possible weaknesses, but the big thing that I find for this is the value to a team, but more importantly, effective communication. So this gives a breakdown on ways that are positive to interact with the individual. So I'd imagine this kind of bit, obviously you've said that self-perception for individuals to read through for themselves, but this form of communication, so effective levels of communication with the person, must be really important for obviously themselves understanding, you're right, this is how I like to be spoken to or how I like to be approached. But for management and businesses as a whole, this bit would make a massive difference, I would think.
Well, absolutely, Chris. So if we're running a team, we will explain the theory first, probably the first couple of hours, then we'll hand out the profiles. People will read their profiles and they'll start interacting. So maybe go to a person you don't know and go through strengths and weaknesses. You look at each other's strengths and weaknesses. And then there's various ways you can do a workshop. But set exercise, value to the team as an exercise where we get everyone to consider it, because you're looking for a mixture. You don't want everyone with the same value.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I'm super fast and I get the team going. 10 people are all saying that. So you're looking at a bit of a mix. And then you're quite right to highlight the communication ones. I mean, it's like how to communicate with Chris and what will piss Chris off, basically. If you,
Yes.
You know, but the problem is...
One's a longer list than the other.
The interesting but difficult thing is, of course, everyone's professor says something different.
Yeah.
You know, so please go into lots of detail with me. Please don't go into lots of detail with me. So that's why we would say the whole thing's about self-awareness and then other awareness, because it's like, okay, I know I like detail. I know Chris doesn't like detail. What am I going to do? Am I going to please myself? Am I going to please him? Are we going to compromise? So it gives you a language where you can have these conversations. Like, look, I've only got 10 minutes, Chris, so is it okay if I just do the high level?
Yeah.
And you go, yeah, and okay, but come back next week and tell me some more detail. And great. So it's that sort of level of detail that you're trying to get to. So for sure, that is an important section.
It's a lot more. So a lot of people will hear, you know, obviously finding out insights and discovery. And like you said, there's a lot of different approaches and terminology to coaching as a whole. This isn't just an individual coaching thing. There's a lot more. So if any businesses out there are watching this going, is it worthwhile for me? I can tell you now from personal experience, it is. It is 100% worthwhile, if nothing else, to better understand your team. Even if it's not necessarily in a work sense, if you just want to understand the people who you are working with, this is a fantastic tool for them to use. And it's...
Well said, Chris.
It's just, I mean, but even this is something that would never have occurred to me, possible blind spots for people. I mean, that... Just, you know, perceptions, as it says at the top here, our perceptions of self may be different to the perceptions others have of us. You know, people hear blind spots, they think, well, I just turned my head and I can see at the back of the car. It doesn't work that same way when you're dealing with people.
We say blind spots comes from the less conscious area, which is why it's a blind spot. It means you're not really conscious of it. But having done this for many years, I always say, and this is all just my own personal opinion, but roughly 25, you know, up to the age of 25, you go, oh, never heard of that one. But older people have been getting these things pointed out by their mates and their family for years, and they go, oh God, I still can't see it, but I'm certainly used to it. So that's why it says blind spots. It's other people go, yeah, of course Chris does that.
Yeah.
You're like, really?
But you're so blind to...
Exactly, you're blind. So
blind to your own... Because you... It sounds daft, but... You're with yourself day in, day out. You're not always going to recognise everything about yourself constantly. You're not going to recognise if you've got a weakness or a blind spot somewhere.
Well, especially if you're kidding yourself. You know, we all do those things, sort of pretend, you know, but somebody else goes, you've done it again. And so, it's more information, really, isn't it?
Oh, so it's like...
I mean, there's we're not trying to give folk a hard time. It's just like, oh, okay, I now realise that I have to think about that one, because if I'm not careful, I'll, whatever it is, open my mouth and say the wrong thing, for example.
Oh, our colours will definitely tie into that. We'll get to that shortly. I look at the blind spots as almost like it's... someone gave me the analogy once of it's like having kids. You're around your kids all the time. You don't notice a difference in their height, their weight, their hair colour, or nothing that's changed. Whereas you'll have a grandparent who hasn't seen the grandchild in 6 months, and that's where all the you've gotten so big, you've gotten so tall, your hair's changed colour. It's because it's that. If you see something day in, day out, you're not going to notice the changes in it.
Yeah, and even sometimes behaviour, you know, I mean, my kids are growing up now,
Same.
but, you know, when you see kids in, I don't know, a coffee shop or something, you're like, oh, they're letting them away with murder. Of course, that's what you do, because they're behaving like that every day, and they're only 2 or 3. But when you're seeing them from a distance, oh gosh, I'd forgotten that's how
loud
they are.
Blind spot.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's definitely plenty of them. Plenty of blind spots, I should say, sorry.
No offence to any listeners.
Oh, listen, I've got one.
Kids.
Again, my son's 19. He's older, same as yours are a bit older now, and it's just
goodness.
Yeah, we can see that. We know that we can look back on it now and go, I clearly had a blind spot for that when he was growing up. I look at it now, going, yeah, he would make noise on the bus, which wouldn't help anyone else. The opposite types is a big thing as well. I think, because it's like you said about if you've got 10 people in the room, they're all coming back the same way, going, I'm the person who's loud and motivates and will lead. It's important to understand, or at the very least, respect that opposite type of someone.
Yeah, so I mean, you know, we can talk about this for a lot longer than we have available, but basically, when we get you to fill in the questions, we're saying, well, it's based on preferences. What is it that you like, Chris? Oh, I like whatever the word statement is. So other people are choosing the opposite to be their like. So what we tend to do until we've got this information is we tend to judge our opposite as wrong. We don't know we're doing it. Oh, that person's so quiet. I like to talk. Why are they so quiet? Or that person likes the sound of their own voice. You know, and all of that is just opposite behaviour. So once you really understand, it's like, they're a little bit more introverted, or maybe just today, and I'm a little bit more extroverted. Sort of understanding that. So for me, it's taking the judgment out of it, because opposite types will fight when they're judging each other, as is all too obvious.
Yeah.
But when they start to understand the opposite, and that's why we call it adapt and connect. That's like, okay, I'll just slow down a little bit because actually I can see I'm going too fast for Chris or whatever, and then we'll get on better because I'm coming towards your preference, if you like. So that's
a great way to phrase it. That clash that often comes from, like you say, that judgment of other people. It's not the inability, but the failure to actually just take a moment and understand that opposite from someone else. That someone has a different approach to things. Instead of confronting it and getting defensive over your own approach to things, it's understanding that people are different. These things are good.
What I like about going, one of the reasons we like to deliver all the theory is once you see the whole lie of the land, it's like very clear that's an okay option and that's an okay option.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't think we necessarily think like that on a daily basis. We're in the bus and we're going, I wish that guy wouldn't do whatever. Instead of going, okay, quiet's okay, talkative's okay, everything in between's okay. I'm just using that as a simple example. So it's like, and that's why we talk about coaching as the ongoing reminder. It's like, okay, get your profile out. What happened? Oh, well, I was on the bus and I forgot all about this and I shouted at that. So it's sort of the reminder of it that is the ongoing nature. Because as I say, otherwise it's fun for a couple of weeks and then we forget about it.
Yeah, and then it just disappears into the background and everyone goes,
so
forget about it again.
And as you say, it's useful in personal relationships as well. Obviously, you've got kids and partners and understanding,
interpersonal relationships are one of the biggest impactors to everything in the world these days. How we interact and how we allow ourselves to react to other people is huge. Like it sounds daft, but I've believed for a while now that if I was the last person on earth, I wouldn't have any problems because there'd be no one there for me to clash with. I'd have no reason to argue. Yes, survival would obviously have its own problems, but the problems that we tend to experience day to day wouldn't exist because we haven't got that interaction with people.
Right, yeah.
Whilst at the same time, none of the positives we have, because again, we wouldn't have that interaction with people as they come around. Interpersonal relationships are huge now. Yeah,
and I do think there's more recognition of that than maybe 20 or 30 years ago. It was sort of, it's maybe all the internet and socials. It's just a bit more obvious that that's important, really important to have your team getting on with each other.
One thing I would say for everyone who does go through this, suggestions for development, read that. Pay attention to it and understand it. Don't take it as a change and do these things. This is how can you progress? How can you build?
It's quite a tricky page, that, because it's basically saying whatever your least preferences are, do more of them. And so when I'm reading my page, I'm like, never. Oh yeah, I need to, so it's like the ones you need to do something about and you're willing to do something about.
Yeah.
And there's maybe one or two that are just, that's, not for you, but for sure that's a good area of development.
I read through mine and it says reflecting for a moment before responding. That's definitely something I need to start. That reactionary, I'm feeling, I'm thinking, and I'm going to say what I'm feeling and thinking. Yeah, definitely.
It's the old pause with your email before you press send. Kind of thing.
Slowing down and thinking things through connects right back to reflect for a moment before responding. Not always seeking the ultimate ideal. Yep, that definitely ties into to me quite a bit. So it takes us on to the colour wheel. Or the Insights Discovery Type Wheel, I suppose. Would you prefer calling it the type wheel, the colour wheel? What?
We call it the 8 type wheel because up until that point you've described 4 colours, and then the actual wheel's a little bit more complicated. That's just how you blend the 4 colours. It's just called the 8 type wheel.
The 8 type
and if you're doing it with a team, you will put everybody on the one picture so that you see how close everyone is. So we call that the team wheel. But the thing you're looking at is now called 8 type wheel.
So we'll start with if that's kind of an expansion of the colours, we'll start with the colours itself. So there are, as you would expect, 4 primary colours that people can fall into, which are...
Well, they add an adjective. We can't go into all the detail here, but we add an adjective to explain a bit more about what the colour is. So fiery red, it's obvious. It's like motivation, getting things done, task focused. We have cool blue, which is more introverted and analytical, designing your IT system maybe. They're both thinking colours, and then in the bottom half of the wheel we have the feelings colours. So sunshine yellow is extrovert feelings, so that's more like your presenters, like Chris maybe. And myself, that's my highest colour. And then quieter but also feelings colour, earth green, so that's more caring, looking after people, listening, things like that. So we've all got a mixture of all four, and then the 8 types are just a bit more complicated blends of these colours. Yeah.
So your 8 types that they've got, as you said, they've all got, sort of descriptive words that go with them. So your coordinator, observer, reformer, director, motivator, inspirer, helper, and supporter. So each of those will fall into one of those categories that you mentioned earlier, the colour style one.
Yeah, so they're either strongly one of the 4 colours we've mentioned, or kind of a mixture of the two. It could be on the cusp, so I like blue and red, cool blue and fiery red. So, but yeah, they just felt that it was too simplistic just with 4. Yeah. So the 8 types is a little bit more the right split, if you like.
Yeah. So like for me, and again, this comes back with conscious and less conscious positions within that wheel. So where they are here, I'll try and put an image somewhere on the screen which shows you a bit more about these, because me holding this up to the camera means you're not going to see it. I'm not zooming in because that loses all its quality. So for example, my conscious wheel position, so we'll look at mine because I'm here, I don't want to give away Zara's. I'm a directing motivator. So what would you say that says about me? Try and break that down a little bit more, I suppose, for...
Well, we say the noun, so motivator's the noun. So the 8 type wheel, the type is motivator. Then the adjective's the one you're next closest to. So directing motivator means mainly orange. Motivator's orange, but with some reddy oranges. So director's red. So motivator, very extrovert, very fast, very loud. so likes to talk, but also motivating, getting things done. So there's an element in the profile. It probably says something like has an equal interest in people and tasks. So the red task thing is a big thing, but the yellow people thing is a big thing. So it's the combination of task and people will be capable of moving out of this office and absolutely no problem at all.
Yeah, and then for my less conscious wheel, I'm inspiring motivator, so still motivator, still falling within that same kind of...
Yeah, so less conscious would say is more like a home, and so both motivator, but inspiring is more the yellowish side, so it's more like at home, the people side's coming in a little bit more, and at work, the task side's coming in a bit more, which would make sense, because there's, the work has to be done. So not a massive difference between the two, but from a colour perspective, we'll come onto the graphs page, it just means yellow's highest at home, followed by red, and it swaps over, red highest at work, followed by yellow.
It's obviously, and again, for me, it's not a massive swing between the two.
No,
we'll find with some people that there is quite a...
It's
not
kind
a drastic
of
swing,
unusual,
but...
without getting into too much detail, probably same colour highest home and work is, 75% of people, and then maybe 20% of people are doing, and I used to have something very similar where the highest colour just swaps at work, and then bigger changes, we call them creative types, say about 7%, so they're like completely different at home and work, and that's just a little bit more unusual.
Yeah, a little bit more. Creative people being slightly more unusual.
But still perfectly okay,
Well, this is it. And then, like you say, we've got your final page that you come through is the graphs where it breaks down those colours into a percentage. Now, first things first, the percentage isn't out of 100 as a total combined. That's the thing.
He's been listening.
See, there we go.
Very
I remembered
impressed.
it. It's out of each one is out of 100 within itself. So for me, it's 31, 29, 63, and 49. We know that doesn't add up to 100. Before we get the math people coming out and going, that doesn't equal 100 as a world. Yes, we know. So yeah, the graph breaks things down in a little bit more detail then for each sort of how a person falls into each colour.
It does. I mean, we've got the two graphs, less conscious at home and conscious at work. So two separate bar graphs. I mean, one of the takeaways that we always try and emphasise is the whole, you're not just one colour, you're all 4 colours. So you might have this amount of your highest colour and this amount, this amount, this amount. So it could be, I was saying, in a 10-hour day, you might be 3.5 hours spending it as in your highest colour and 3 hours spending your second colour. So the notion that, I'm one colour, which a lot of people who haven't had coaching, they forget and they come out of that. It's just more subtle than that. Obviously, we need to differentiate between highest colours in order to differentiate people. But then once you've got to that level, you start to be more subtle. Today I'm in my yellow, but that doesn't mean tomorrow I'm going to be in my yellow. So it maybe gets. I'm starting to overcomplicate it
No,
myself,
it's
but you almost have to get to that stage where then it's like, in this moment, we're in this colour.
Yeah.
So it is more subtle than just, one high colour kind of thing.
Which I think is a big thing for people to understand is, like you say, the colour wheel isn't you are red, you are red.
No.
You are literally, every individual has, it might only be 1% of a red or 1% of a blue or a green, but
unusual but possible, yeah.
But you still have some element of those
if
colours.
I'm doing a workshop, I will say, we've all got all full colours about 50 times, and the next week somebody will go, I'm red, and I'll be like...
So I'll be like,
no, you're
no. You might be right now.
That's why you need coaching to sort of remind
Yeah,
people.
but I think that's a big thing for people to understand, is it can be very easy to fall into the trap of saying, I have an introverted team. And it'd be like, you might have a largely introverted team, but it doesn't mean that that's the only way to approach them. It doesn't mean that's the only way to understand them.
Absolutely.
There's a lot more to know about people than just that. And again, it's why you break it down into those 8 bits, the adjectives come in for the colours, and it just helps people understand that this is a more in-depth thing than some people would give it credit for.
Absolutely. And we touched on the preference flow, which was the difference between the two graphs. I mean, that can be quite a big effort. I might be such and such a colour, but my job requires me to do this. So, for example, when I was doing my chemical engineering, my blue arrow, because that's technical detail, I'm not good at that. I got a massive blue arrow, which means I'm killing myself to concentrate and get this done, and I can do it. It's hard work. So all these people can be motivated, developed to push their low colours if they want to, or not. And if they're not, then it's interesting, So it's a whole having a development conversation around it. It's like, that's why I like talking about it in a coaching sense. Okay, I'm trying to work on this colour. What exactly are you doing to improve that colour and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, the interesting part for me, and I think for Zara as well when we went through it, was that preference flow. So you mentioned when, in order for one to go up, you borrow from another to almost counteract, or not counteract, but to counterbalance it.
Possibly. You don't have to, but that is one option. That's definitely one. I call that robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah.
So it's like pushing up and pushing down. But some people don't push down, they just push up. Why? No idea. My arrows all go up the way. But yeah, so that whole energy balance, if you like, is unique for each individual.
For each person. And it's a fun one to look at and, like I say, and analyse, because it's... We spoke as well about batteries. Like social batteries are a big thing for people. So if you are high on the extroverted side, it doesn't mean you're high on the extroverted side all day, all the time. You might only be high on the extroverted side for an hour. Your battery's burned out, you're done.
That's right.
Then you swing back the other way again.
I mean, I didn't know all this stuff. I used to be a production manager, didn't know all this stuff. But I remember going, I feel like going out in the plant now. I'll chat to some guys, get some stuff done.
Yeah.
Now I'm tired wandering about. I'll go back and do some paperwork. Now I'm tired doing some paperwork. I'll go out. So all of that was introvert, extrovert batteries, but I didn't know any better. I just had an urge to get up or to
go up and do something.
Come back. So I guess a lot of people do that without necessarily knowing why they're doing it.
It's an important thing to do. So for this as a whole, what would you say is one of the more? And I'm not going to ask for what's the most important thing.
Good.
But, because the whole thing is important. But what's important for people to know when approaching this, not to take out afterwards, but to know coming into this, instead of, because again, like we said, it's not a case of you're going to go into it and go, I'm yellow, that's it. What would you advise people to sort of take as an approach to come into these things?
It's another tricky question, Chris. I mean, we're not talking about coaching too much, which is fine, but going into coaching, I mean, if you forget about insights just for a second, and I'll use it to try and answer that question. Coaching is very much a personal, what do you want to talk about today, Chris?
Yeah.
So it could be, this is my current issue, it's my manager, or I need to get this stuff done, or my confidence is low. So one of the reasons coaching really works is because you're working with the person's agenda, their current agenda. We come along session 4 and I don't go, right, let's carry on talking about what we were talking about last time. It could be something completely different. So if you have 6 sessions, sometimes what there is in session 5, I mean, session 1's fixed, and we're moving on. So it's kind of like that sort of question is, how does your personal profile relate to your coaching agenda? It's like, oh, well, actually, I can see now that it's something to do with me not being in the right job. That could be a thing to look at. Or I don't get on with people of a certain colour. I'm going to have to work on that. So it's sort of quite hard to answer it. It's sort of using it using it as information for whatever stage you are in life and whatever your current issues are, it will definitely help.
It will help.
It's better to do that than sheep dip. We're all using it for this purpose. And obviously, if there's a team, if we're doing it with a team, the purpose is to better understand each other in a team.
Yeah.
But then we can go off and have individual parts to that where somebody's concentrating on.
Yeah.
Oh, I've never told Chris, but I really don't go on with him, and I need to figure out what to do. So it can be quite
if I go through his
personalised.
profile, it'll tell me how I can approach this with him and how I shouldn't approach this with him communication-wise.
Pretty much.
How important? Obviously, we've spoke about the importance of managers using this to understand their teams. Do you find that the reverse is just as important, so that it can help teams understand their manager's approach to things as well?
Well, totally. I mean, it's any individual understanding any other individual. So, I mean, I can think of, we've got lots of case histories over the years, but I can think of, I mean, quite often a big manufacturing company would have a chunk of high fiery red energy at the top, all the tasks focused in managing it. But I can think of one example where there's a very high earth green person at the top.
Okay.
And it's, of course, you can do any job at any profile.
Yeah.
But the people who worked for him were all high fiery red, and they got the red part done, and he did the outward facing, going to speak to the council and doing all that sort of stuff. So it was a really good team. It's they were a little bit frustrated because they were used to having somebody even more red than them in charge. So they would come to coach and say, "You never guess what happened." And so that whole understanding, it's just a different way of doing it.
Yeah.
So for sure, the understanding their boss was a big thing for several people, if I recall rightly.
Well, I think that's something that a lot of teams often struggle with. There's a lot of, like, I've found it from working in retail and what have you in the past. It's, you'll get everyone sitting going, God, this manager's on shift today. I don't get on with this manager. And I think you can, like, if you're working as a team, 9 times out of 10, you'll understand the team a lot easier than you will understand your superior, your manager or whatever. So I think this is a big thing for those teams to take away as well. It's not just, letting your manager understand you or letting your seniors understand you. It's about coaching and developing and understanding everyone involved within an organisation.
And it could be another team, traditionally certain departments don't get on or whatever. It can be, because of the work that they have to, they're never in time, we're waiting for them, that sort of stuff. So being able to deal with those things and stakeholders as well.
Yeah.
I'm just so into it. You can't you can't not have that information as far as I'm concerned.
I was going to say, I'd imagine now you've got to the point where, do you ever find that it's just constantly in your head? If you're sitting somewhere
I constantly find it's constantly in my head. Yeah.
You're just looking at people in the public and going, might be a yellow.
Probably in an unhealthy way. I'm sure it's, so long as you don't kind of overdo it, it's pretty useful.
Which again, I think is something important for people to know who go through this kind of thing. It's understand it, it's know it, but don't become obsessed by it. If you
well, I would like a few more people to become obsessed because there's not many of them. Mostly, it's like a little bit more depth than you think. But of course, there's the odd person that really gets into it. So I think.
Have you ever had any? It's a bit of a random one this time. Any sort of big clashes or negatives come out of like one of these sessions? Someone sitting down going through one of these and just almost vehemently rejecting the idea of anything like this coming out or understanding.
A few, not too many. I mean, this has only happened once of an individual going, "That's not me. That's all. It's all wrong. It's just not me." And I'm like, "Oh God, that's never happened before." Because sometimes people say, it's pretty good, and usually they say it's very good. But I can't remember. These examples are 10 years ago plus, so it's okay to quote. But I remember the guy, I think his job title was planner or something, and it was coming out saying he had low blue, and he obviously something like that. You can do it in lots of different ways. But the sort of archetypal doing all the detail. So he was just worried. So I remember he folded his arms like this, and he's like, anyway, we just talked. I sort of panicked. And we talked around it a little bit, and I was saying, look, it's just telling you what your personal profile is. It's nothing to do with whether you can do your job or not. And he went, oh, okay, then, it's fine. It's really good. So it was obviously more of a concern than it being found out. So I was
that feeling of being personally attacked.
And then, but it was the way he turned. I wasn't expecting him to turn it around and go, oh, no, it's fine, actually. So
I think that would be a big thing.
It's not about the job. It's about, this is something different from, this is like your personal profile style, and depending on what role you're in, you'll have to flex it differently from somebody else.
Yeah. I think it's a big thing for certain archetypes of people to accept that analysis of them as people. And it could be like, that fear of admitting who you are or what you're like or what your preferences could be.
Well, yeah, I mean, without naming any names, there are people who have sort of refused to do this for their team, or not wanted to take it on. And I know for sure it's fear out of being.
Yeah.
What if it, and one of the things we talked about, Chris, is a good day, bad day colour. So all 4 colours are good, and no one's profile says you're a bad person.
No, exactly.
Never does that.
Nope.
Of course, if you overdo any of the colours, it can come across that way. So I think they're just terrified that they'll see that they're a bully or something like that. I mean, nobody's profile says you're a bully. It might say you're fast and task focused or something, but so I think again it's about reassuring everybody that there's something to be learned and nothing to be afraid of. Really.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing for it, because again, for analysing myself, I've always had and I don't want to know what I'm like. As long as people like me, I'm okay. I don't care myself about what I'm thinking. I don't need to know who I am.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
But having read through this, it is something that I would say for anyone. So if you're watching this or listening to this and you have that fear of what this might say, it's not going to tell you anything that consciously or subconsciously you don't already know. It just might help you understand that a little bit better.
Yeah.
I think it helps you. It certainly, for me anyway, I find it helps me understand myself. It's helped me understand how I approach certain things. Today being an example, we had a bit of a stressful, things have changed. And normally, like before reading through all this, I'd have done the reactionary, but now I go, okay, I understand where that's coming from.
Yeah, that's good.
I understand that that's not an effective way for me to manage it. If I want to do this properly, I need to lean into this a little bit more.
That's really good.
And take things going away. It's not about, like you says, it's not a bad person. It's not a bad thing. It could just be a bad day. There's no such thing as a bad colour or a bad person. There's just different when it comes to looking at this. So don't be scared of going in and doing it.
Well said, Chris. And it's only, I don't know what, a month since we did it. So it's impressive that you're using it that way already.
Again, this is where it comes in to have it in your kitchen. Read through little bits every so often. And I think just understanding yourself a bit better is something that can only benefit people as a whole as well. Obviously, you do this sort of as a work coaching kind of thing as well. But I think this is a big thing for people as individuals.
But that's what I find, that the team leader or the company might decide it's useful for overall team understanding, and of course it is. And the individuals get that, but they also get their own personal bit. Like, oh my goodness, that's my wife or my husband. So it's useful for them both at work and just in general, especially if they're, had years of not understanding that. I mean, just the point you made earlier, it is self-perception. So for sure it's not going to be anything you don't know, because you know it, that's why you answered it. But the way it's done is it's not couched in bad terms. It's always couched in good terms. And of course you can do the good and you can do the bad, but that's a different issue. You worrying that everyone thinks you're being bad day all the time. Of course nobody's like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's something that I would say is worthwhile for anyone out there to do. There's no negative to doing this. There's no downside to doing this. Everything that you take out of this is a positive. Whether you choose to see it as such is, of course, down to the individual. But speaking from personal experience, from having gone through this side of the process at the very least, I can say it's definitely something worthwhile for people to do. So if you're watching or listening to this and you're thinking about it, get in contact with Stephen. Get yourself, your team. We're a team of 2. We still managed to go through it and have taken, at the very least, this as something positive out of it. So I think it's definitely worthwhile for people doing it.
Great. Well, thank you for doing such a good job of promoting it.
With that in mind, how can people find you? How can people reach out to you, contact, and look into getting something like this done for their team themselves?
Does my email go out, or
we can pop all your contact details into the...
Just my contact details, yeah. I sometimes do free sessions. I did a free group session with the Chamber in October, and we're getting another one in February. So for companies who want to send some people on it, but for smaller teams or individuals, just get in touch.
Get in contact with you direct. All the links to you and your LinkedIn, etc., will be in the description down below. So people will be in contact, I'm sure, very, very soon to sort this out.
Well, thanks
Have
for
you got any particular sort of busy periods where it's like, please don't contact me at this time? Do you close down during the winter at any point?
No, nothing like that, because usually it's spaced out, and people say, "Oh, it's great, we'll do it in the new year and stuff." So we space it out. So don't be shy, get in touch.
I think this is, for now, this is probably the ideal time for people to start looking into it. For when that new year passes, people start looking at reassessing, starting their year and getting off on the best foot possible. So if you want to do that with your team, get in contact with Steve and sort something out for in the new year or the tail end of this year. Understand your team, understand their approach, understand your management, and everything will work out for the best, I would imagine, going forward.
Great.
Yeah. Well, Steve, thank you very much for coming in and chatting to us. It's been an
Thank you, Chris.
absolute pleasure. And again, thank you for going through and producing these personal profiles for us. They will be coming with us to the new office, and we'll try and get the other people in those offices to get one booked in for themselves as well.
Great. Okay.
If you're new to the channel, don't forget to click like and subscribe. The link to do so is just down below. If you follow us on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, again, a follow and a ratings or review on there. It would be greatly appreciated. Leave your feedback. Have you been through one of these coaching sessions yourselves? Let us know how you or your team got on with it and how you find the ongoing coaching in the comments sections down below. We'll be back with another episode next Monday. Until then, thank you for watching. Take care.